Australians impacted by the recession. Let's have a look. Hello everyone, Florian.heise here and welcome to another episode of HeiseSays. I have my stein of morning coffee and I thought we'd start the day with a nice article discussing the potential impacts of this recession on everyday Australians. Now, for those of you that haven't been keeping up with the last nearly 40 years or 30 years of news, we haven't had a recession in the living memory of a lot of people. 29 years. There's a generation that are going to experience a recession for the first time. I have memories of the recession Australia had to have as a child, because it was during that time that we moved from Victoria up to Queensland. And I remember being quite concerned because work was really slowing down for my father's construction business. I didn't deviate too far from my father's footsteps in being involved in construction, because he had a construction and drafting business that he ran from home as well. Shows you, doesn't it? So let's have a look at this article and see what we can take from it, and just discuss how people are prepared or if they aren't. How everyday Australians will be impacted by the recession. Australia is experiencing its first recession in decades, with jobs, wages and cost of living and housing market all set to be impacted. And I'm sure a lot of people have been preparing for this, particularly those of you that are in the construction game. I know a lot of people it's been getting a bit quiet, you've been tightening your belt. It's probably in some ways it's a little easier to prepare if you get a sudden slowdown, or a slowdown over a period. You ease into it. But like tourism that just boom turned off one day to the next, that's going to be tougher. Today, Treasurer, which was yesterday, Josh Frydenberg confirmed Australia is now in a recession as a result of the major economic impacts of the pandemic. When asked whether the country was in a recession, Mr. Frydenberg said, well, the answer to that is yes. And that is on the basis of the advice that I have from the Treasury Department about where the June quarter is expected to be. Now, I suspect they were hoping that the last quarter, the March quarter, might just avoid negative growth. Even if it just bumped up to zero, if all of that toilet paper purchasing, all of that hoarding getting out there would just drive people into the shops, I think they were hoping it might just avoid a recession. So the confirmation came after the Australian Bureau of Statistics reported the economy shrank by 0.3% in the March quarter, off the back of the bushfire, drought, and the pandemic. And we went through that in an episode here, and it really feels like that we were mainly talking about the bushfires, guys, just the impact the bushfires had. So the economic lockdown really wasn't demonstrated. It didn't have much impact on that quarter. So this quarter, it's given it's going to be terrible. The announcement has left many Australians wondering what the recession actually means for them. Well, that's the thing. You've got a generation that don't know what a recession is, that haven't been through it. Their lives weren't disrupted by it. I grew up, our family was in construction. It was a huge disruption. We moved interstate. That's a big part of my childhood. I remember my parents being concerned about money coming in and projects appearing. There'll be a whole lot of people, and and I'm not that old. I may look it, but I'm not that old. I haven't breached the big 4-0 yet, and there'll be people who've actually gone through the recession as adults and will remember it. I mean, just remember the interest rates we had back then. Here are some of the areas that will most likely be impacted. Jobs and wages. The recession means that it will be significantly harder for unemployed people to get jobs, with it also being more difficult for employed people to change jobs. It also means that wage growth will slow down. And we'll have a look here. Wage growth has been terrible. Terrible since the GFC, pretty much, guys. We fell off a cliff since then. And the fact that some people are not going to have it may be a lesson for some people to realize. You shouldn't have changed that job, or you have to keep that job, or you have to be lucky you've got a job. Dr. Andrew Grant, a senior lecturer of the University of Sydney Business School, previously told news.com.au that small businesses will also take a hit. Small businesses will have to strike a balance between remaining operational and closing. Even if there are extensions to loans or deferred payments, there are other costs businesses are going to incur. So can small businesses justify keeping the lights on when they're not getting as many customers through the doors? That's going to be a challenge. And we're going to see businesses adapt. We're going to see, well, behavioral changes have also occurred. People are going to go less into credit, less into debt, less credit cards, less afterpay, less spending on the luxury brands, more spending on no-name brands. People are going to be saving every penny they can. During the GFC, Australia's unemployment didn't drastically change, moving from just over 4% to just under 6%. This happened because many employers chose to reduce employees' hours instead of cutting jobs completely. I wonder if that's going to happen. I mean, I'll bring up here the unemployment rate, guys. It's sitting over 6%. Just think about that. That's the ABS data. That is not the Roy Morgan data, which has got unemployment and underemployment at about 25% now. And the thing is, if you get unemployed in a recession, there's going to be scarring. And that's something our governor has mentioned many times. It's hard for people to get back in. It depends the older you get. I'm about that age now. I'm nearly 40. It's going to get a lot harder for me if I was an employee getting out there looking for work. The older you get, and I mean, it's not right, it's not fair, it's just life. It gets harder to find work, guys. So this happened because many employers chose to reduce hours instead of cutting jobs completely. And I remember, we didn't quite, not the GFC, but after, when mining slowed down and other work slowed down. I remember Rachel was working for an architect and they cut hours. However, the country went into that crisis in a better position with a lower unemployment rate, and the RBA, or the Reserve Bank, with much more capacity to cut interest rates. And this is where discussions are now starting to appear, and I did a video on it yesterday about the potential for negative interest rates appearing in Australia. Cost of living. The economic hit could see many businesses see their costs increase, which could then force them to pass those costs on to consumers. Now, one thing I will just bring up right here, everyone. I'll bring up a website when it loads up. Now, we've seen the Australian dollar has shot up. We've got here, we're sitting now at 69.25 US cents. And this is the Observatory of Economic Complexity. And I will just log in here to the Pro version. Now, all of our exports that we're sending out will be more expensive, but all of our imports are going to be more cost effective. So hopefully that will have a benefit to our cost of living. And I see there, yep, my head is getting chopped off by the camera. I'll fix that in the next video. So let's jump back here. So the economic hit could see many businesses see their costs increase, which could then force them to pass these costs on to consumers. On the other hand, it would be extremely difficult for businesses to raise prices and keep consumers during a time when people are likely to be trying to cut back on spending. That's going to be more people are going to be shifting online. More people will be shifting online. Now, I just have to fix it. There we go. I need to fix that. It was annoying me. Sorry, guys. With the potential for rising costs and the possibility of more people being unemployed, Australians will likely start cutting out non-essential costs. The first things to usually be abandoned are luxury holidays and travel plans, buying new items and eating out. So this is going to hit the tourism sector, guys. It is definitely going to hit the tourism sector. Luxury holidays, travel plans. But my understanding is also that the smaller luxuries go up. Lipstick is apparently a small luxury that goes up once we hit a recession. Beauty appointments, gym membership, streaming services, and even health insurance are costs that could be on the chopping block for many people. And that's, well, it's all these little subscriptions that just add up after time, again and again and again. You just start cutting them, guys. You'd be shocked. You would be shocked. When times get tough and you actually have to look at stuff, how many people don't have a budget? How many people are hand to mouth and are going to take a big hit? A big hit. This is where the job keeper and all these programs used to keep people in employment. And people will do whatever they can to, I mean, they haven't even mentioned private school here. They'll do whatever they can to keep their households afloat. But then we're going to have other social issues as well. I'd hate to see what happens with divorce rates and IPV. Household spending already dropped by 1.1% over the recent quarter, the first decline since December 2008. This is likely due to the recent shutdown of businesses and implementation of social distancing rules, but is partially offset by a rise in the amount of goods bought, such as food and medicine. And if that rise wasn't taken into account, that drop would be 2.5% roundabout. This is the story of what was happening in the economy as we saw panic buying in our supermarkets, but we saw people increasingly stay at home, Mr. Frydenberg said. So the housing market. It is possible that low interest rates could have a slightly positive impact on property prices, but some people with investment properties may be forced to put them on the market to free up some cash. And that's the thing, when people need cash, they sell everything. And it's the edge cases in property that will affect the prices. So we'll look at some other videos about the housing grant, more data's come out about it. You know, are people going to jump in with that spending when it's anticipated that property values will go down? Probably doesn't matter if it's your forever home. You know, you're going to have to, the cost may decrease slightly due to market conditions, may not. Suddenly, paying 80% of your pay on 3 mortgages may not seem like a good idea. So we could expect that to lead to bigger supply, especially of units. Our units are going to take, they're going to take a hammering, guys. All these geniuses that have got 6 investment properties negative geared to reduce their tax. Yeah, well, we'll have to keep an eye on it, everyone. But it depends on how long this lasts, because there are costs associated with selling property, so it's not the first thing people turn to. A recession will likely see a sharp fall in property prices, with NAB chief economist Alan Oster telling Domain. He would not be surprised to see residential property prices down 10% over the next 12 months. St. George Bank's Miss Dieter told the real estate company that real estate companies were also expecting property prices to drop, but would not provide a forecast because there were too many uncertain factors. The number of house transactions will fall consistent with the rise in uncertainty, she said. We would expect dwelling prices to decline over the next few months and building approvals to decline further. And we've seen data came out yesterday. Building approvals are pretty much sitting there, steady. Sitting steady. They've already taken a few falls. They've fallen a bit more, but not as dramatic as it was. So I mean, here you go. This is what he's pointing out here. This is the fall. So it's 2%. Sorry, not 2. Oh, is it 2.5? They've cut it off, but you can see that's the fall. Yeah, it looks actually like 2.5, and that's the the lift. It's offset the fall in household purchases somewhat. There you go, guys. So we are now in a recession economy, and we'll have to see how it impacts everyday Australians. How are you planning to deal with this? Have you prepared? You know, do you remember the last recession? What strategies, what advice would you give people? Let them know in the comments below, because there are going to be some people that have never experienced a recession. As always, thanks for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. If you're a fan and you'd like to support the channel, there are a few ways you can. You can join us, share the videos, get the content out there, help the channel grow. You can join us on YouTube or Patreon. You can support us via our affiliate links at Amazon or eBay or Independent Reserve and Kucoin for the crypto traders out there. You can buy our merch from HeiseSays, use Gold Pass from the Perth Mint, or you can support us via PayPal. Take care, guys. Have a great day, and I'll see you in the next video.